Okay, today we're going to focus on how to solve inequalities, and we're going to be using the symbolic method. So, you need to know that equivalent inequalities are just inequalities that have the exact same solutions. So they'd be equivalent if like one of them ended up with x equals or x is greater than 2 and the other one ended up with x is greater than 2. Those would be equivalent inequalities. You can solve inequalities by using the symbolic method, very, very similar to the way that we solved equations, where we do the same thing to both sides and are trying to get our variable alone. We're going to practice that same technique here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to solve this inequality. P minus 4 is less than 1. And then I'm going to ask you to graph and check your solution. This is going to be very important to check your solution and make sure it makes sense. You'll see why later. Okay, so when I'm solving P minus 4 is less than 1, I'm going to approach this just like I would a regular equation by trying to get P alone. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides of this inequality. And I get on the left side, I just get P, and on the right side, I just get 5. Okay, I don't have an equal sign at the beginning, I have a less than sign, so I'm going to try it with a less than sign in my answer. P is less than 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to graph and check my solution. So I have like a little number line. I'm going to put the 0 on, I'm going to put 5, that's my boundary point. And I think it's P is less than 5, so I'm going to shade everything to the left of 5. Draw my arrow, it's going on forever that direction. And then 5 itself, 5 is not less than 5, so I'm going to draw an open circle. And when I ask you to check your solution, what I want you to do is pick any point in the area that you shaded. So I am going to pick 0, okay, because I notice that's in the point that I'm shaded. I'm going to just plug it in. 0 minus 4, I want to know if that's really less than 1. Negative 4 is less than 1, so it seems like I probably did the right thing. Okay. All right, try this one on your own and I'll work it out. So 7 is greater than or equal to C plus 4. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing to both sides. I'm going to subtract 4 from each side. I've got 3 is greater than or equal to C. So this time when I graph it, I still want 0, I want 3. Now I say 3 is greater than or equal to C, so remember that means C is less than or equal to 3. So I still think I want to shade everything over here to the left. Draw my arrow, and 3 itself, 3 is greater than or equal to 3, so 3 gets a closed dot in this case, closes it in. And then again, I want to plug in any point that I have shaded. I like 0 because it's easy to work with and it's in my shaded area, so I'm going to try it if C is 0. I want to know, is 7 really greater than or equal to 0 plus 4? 7 is greater than or equal to 4, so again, it seems like I probably did it right. All right, let's check out this word problem and see if we can figure it out. So, in order to receive a B in your literature class, you must earn more than 350 points of reading credit. So altogether, you have to have 350 points more than that. Last week you earned 120 points. This week you earned 90. How many more points must you earn for a B? So I'm going to write an inequality here. That's what I'm going to look for that you can do, not just answer the question. But can you set up an inequality for it? So more points is what I'm looking for. So I'm going to call M more points. Okay, all the points I need to still get. So far it looks like I already earned 120 plus 90. And whatever I end up getting M in the future, I have to get more than 350 points. So here we've got a nice inequality. 120 plus 90 plus M is greater than 350. If I combine my like terms here, I've got 210 plus M is greater than 350. Just like I would have gotten before, I'm going to subtract 210 from both sides. And I got M is greater than 140. So in this case, I need more than 140 more points. Okay, 140 won't do it. That will only give me exactly 350. I need to earn more than 140 points in the future. Okay, let's look at one with some dividing here. Solve. M divided by 3 is greater than negative 2. And again, I want you to graph and check your solution. So, I've got M divided by 3. I usually like it like this, is greater than negative 2. So to undo dividing, I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. Okay, remember these cancel out. And I think that M is greater than negative 6. Okay, So I'm going to check it on my number line. I've got 0, I've got -6, greater than, I'm going to go to the right over here and shade. And then -6 itself is not greater than -6, so I'm going to give it an open circle on -6. And again, I'm going to check. And remember, when I check, I need to go back and check in the original inequality. So 0, great, it's there again, awesome, I'm getting so lucky. 0 divided by 3, I want to know if that's greater than -2. Well, that's 0, and it is greater than -2. So everything looks good, and I'm happy. Everything's checking out so wonderfully so far. Okay, let's try this one though. N divided by -2 is less than 8. Okay, so n divided by -2 is less than 8. So I think, based on everything I've done so far, I'm going to multiply by -2 to both sides. And then I think those are going to cancel out. I'm going to have n, -16. And based on what I've done so far, I think it's n is less than -16. Okay? I'm going to check that again. So I've got my 0 here. Let's see if I can. And I got my -16. And I'm going to go less than, so to the left. I want to know if that's less than -16. I think it's going to have an open circle. All right, but when I check this out, like a number that's less than -16, I might try out -20. Unfortunately, 0 doesn't work in here this time, and I might try it. -20 divided by -2. I want to know if that's less than 8. Well, negative divided by negative is a positive. Is 10 less than 8? No, this time it's not checking out. Okay, do you notice anything different about this example right here, number 5, compared to the earlier ones? I don't know if you do notice, but we did something to both sides, and what we did is we multiplied by a negative. To both sides, we multiplied both sides by a negative. When that happens, when you multiply or divide, I should write in here, this is important, both sides by a negative, you must reverse the inequality symbol. Okay, because when we multiply by -1 or by a negative, we're making everything its opposite. Okay, so for example, if I originally had 5 as less than 8, if I multiply that by -1, -5 would not be less than -8, -5 would be more than -8. Okay, so when I'm multiplying by a negative, it reverses it. So this answer that I had before, this was not correct. I did the work correctly, but I need to actually make that n is greater than -16. This is like probably the only tricky thing about solving inequalities, is that when you multiply or divide by a negative, you must, both sides by a negative, you must reverse the inequality symbol. Triple star that something. It's the only time you do it, but you need to know it. Okay, so here, try this one. Be careful and see if you've got it. So solve -4c is greater than 24. Graph and check your solution. So we've got -4c is greater than 24. I'm dividing both sides by a negative, so be careful. I think it's c. This is -6. Oh, I divided by a negative, so I'm going to switch my symbol. Was it greater than? I'm going to make it less than. I think that c is less than -6. I'm going to graph that. I've got 0. I've got -6. Less than. I'm going to go all the way to the left here. And -6 itself is not less than -6, so open circle. And I'm going to check a number over there, like -10. So I'm going to try, is -4 times -10 really greater than 24? Well, that's 40. It is greater than 24. So I switched the symbol. It worked. And c is really less than -6. All right, one more word problem. Your family budgets $160 to spend on fuel for a trip. How many times can they fill the car's gas tank if it costs $25 each time? Okay, so we know that we're looking for how many times they can fill the gas tank. So I'm going to call N the number of tank fillings. And I know that every time I fill my tank, it costs $25. So like if I fill it 3 times, it was $75. What I'm doing is 25 times N. And that has to be, you have a budget of $160. So you can spend exactly $160 or anything less. So we want 25N to be less than or equal to 160. So in this case, I'm going to divide both sides of my inequality inequality by 25, and I get n is less than or equal to 6.4. Okay, but remember it's asking how many times they can fill the car's tank. So we probably want a whole number of fillings here. So they can fill it 6 fillings or less. Or you could write up to 6 times that they can fill their tank. But remember to answer it in words. Okay, so I want you to think about what are the similarities and differences between solving equations and solving inequalities, and what's really the only place that you might get tricked. Okay, try to remember that, talk to me about it, and I hope that you find this like a piece of cake.